There's lots of reviews on the G14 2022, but the thing is they're all from the beginning of the launch, way back in the early spring or winter of 2022. So this is the very end of 2022 right now. We're in November. So, you know, there's been an evolution of things like drivers and, you know, long-term considerations. So I'm going to open this up, do, you know, my standard review where I look at all the specs, and this will be a user review. So not where I just spew a bunch of stats at you guys. I'm going to actually tell you how it is to use it as day to day. I'm going to use it for a couple days, and then, you know, that's basically will be my review. We'll just get a rough idea of how it performs, and then you can decide if you want to get one. The reason is these have gone on sale quite a bit recently. If you are looking for a powerful gaming laptop, now might be the time to pick one of these up, because they were really expensive in the beginning of the year and unavailable pretty much in Canada, but that seems to have changed. So let's open it up and have a look. All right, so again, I'll just do my kind of user review of it. Metal bottom, you know, looks plasticky, but it's actually not plasticky. This is, I think it's magnesium, or aluminum, but I think it's magnesium. So this is actually metal, even though it looks plastic. Here to keep it raised up. Speakers on the bottom, exhaust, headphone, HDMI 2.0B, I think that is. Power delivery, and so you can charge this with USB-C. You only get 100 watts, I think it is max on USB-C right now, but it's enough to charge it. You know, if you're using it in desktop mode, if you're gaming, it'll not be enough. It'll slowly drain. And then you can, you know, hook up an external display. Headphone jack, power, which is nice because that's a big power brick. You know, if you're going to be carrying this around with you, it's actually, you know, it's not as big as my Legion, but it's fairly big. You know, if you're a student, and this is kind of a mixed use laptop, I would say, if you're a student, then you don't have to carry that brick with you. You can just take like a 100-watt USB-C charger. Oh, it looks like it has a micro SD card there. So that's a 10 gigabit. It says SS. It's probably a 10 gigabit. So it's USB 3.2 Gen 2, so 10 gigabit. Right there it says 10, but it's really hard to see. 2 Type A. Exhaust there. It's quite a bit different than the G15 that I had. That's cool. This is, you know, again, it looks plasticky, but it's metal. It has like a anodized coating or whatever that's called. I don't know if this is the Animatrix display. I have no clue whatsoever. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just look at bloat. If you're going to pick up this laptop, you're going to want to probably remove stuff. Let's see what's in here. AI noise cancellation software, that's fine. You can leave that. That's an ASUS thing. Armoury Crate is actually an essential software. You're going to want to leave that. Same with that. I'm not sure what these ASUS things are, but you can probably keep them. Or a service has to do with the keyboard. You could probably keep that. Dolby Access, you could leave those. If you don't want Microsoft, you could remove that, obviously. It looks pretty clean. My ASUS has a critical software. Do not get rid of that. And if you do a fresh install that right away. This is actually pretty clean. Unlike my laptop, the VivoBook that came with McAfee, this one doesn't have it. It tried to pressure me into doing it when I loaded my ASUS up. It like almost forced me to click on that. It wouldn't let me gray it out, so I had to Control-Delete because it really wants you to install McAfee. I'm sure they get $1 or some bullshit for that. But whatever, I just canceled it out. So, yep, so you're going to want my ASUS, obviously, because then you can install drivers and BIOS updates and that kind of thing. And then you can also control your power and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you get this laptop, looks like it doesn't really have any bloat, to be honest. You're going to want to load up my ASUS and probably update you know, your software, potentially your BIOS if you're comfortable doing that. You're going to want to then do a Windows update and make sure Armoury Crate's up and running so that, you know, you're getting all the recent updates. Since this is, you know, a little bit of an older laptop, it's been around for 6 or 7 months. You know, you just want to make sure that you have everything. Okay, sure. You just want to make sure that you have everything recently updated, because again, these will be old drivers, a lot of old drivers in here. So you can come in here and you can see the BIOS update. G14's 2022 had a lot of problems I've read online with the previous drivers, which was the 313 driver, I think. So if you go online, you see people complaining about a lot of problems with the G14. That was what it was. It was a previous driver, the 313 driver, that apparently caused all kinds of problems. So this one, I've looked it up, and I think it's safe to update this laptop for that to 315. It seems to be very stable. With BIOS updates, you don't just want to immediately get them. You want to potentially check the internet before you do a BIOS update just to make sure there's no wonkiness, because it is possible. You can actually mess up your systems. And I know that Zephyrus in the past have had issues with it, so I intentionally read about that. But the 3.15 is fine. So you can just come in here and you can just update this, and I'll do the Windows updates and come back. One thing you're going to want to do, I might have mentioned it or not, is you're going to want to update your graphics drivers through my ASUS whenever possible. You can update the 6800S graphics card or 6700S graphics card through Windows, or you can do it through the AMD software. However, from what I understand, I've done a bit of reading, this has kind of custom drivers specifically for the G14. So you're going to want to, whenever possible, get them directly from the website or through here, whichever, it doesn't really matter. But getting them directly from ASUS means that they are the specific drivers for this system rather than just a generic 6800S driver, which you may not even be able to get in theory. Okay, so we're all updated. This is another thing you're going to want to keep my ASUS software for. I talk about this in my own laptop video, but it has a couple benefits. One of them is that you can come in here and you can set the battery charge health. So you can have it to full capacity if you're the type of person who's going to need your battery all day. Otherwise, you can set it a bit lower, so it'll only charge up to 80% or 60%. And this is important because if you have your laptop plugged in all day charging, having it maximum capacity and constantly full is, in theory, will put some strain on a lithium-ion battery. So typically, if you're leaving your laptop plugged in like as a desktop, you're going to want to put it on 60% and just that keeps it at the healthy spot. That's kind of where you want your battery to be. The Armoury Crate tool here is going to be your other best friend on top of my ASUS. You can come in here and you can see, temperatures. Apparently it's 66 degrees. You can see your current fans and all kinds of stats. Importantly, you can change your performance settings here. So it's on performance right now. You can put it to silent, which will turn the fans off and basically throttle a bit so that your temperatures drop, which is nice. If you don't want the fans going, you can see it's already dropping. I think it drops it, to a reasonable level. So if you're just doing desktop work, that'll be fine. Performance is probably for like gaming and that, but you can also do manual stuff. You can edit your fan curves here so that they're not too noisy. The trackpad is large. You can watch reviews on this, but from someone who does a lot of productivity work, trackpads are essential for me. This is nice and smooth to the touch. It's a real glass trackpad, unlike a Razer. It's like a sticky mess, and it has a nice click to it, which I like. I like to feel that tactile response. The haptic one that was on the Z13 that I had to return, unfortunately, was really good, but this is a really nice trackpad. It's also very precise. So when you're using it, you feel like you have ultimate control. So it's a large trackpad and a very good trackpad. So people who are doing productivity work with this, that's excellent. Typing. Can't see what I'm doing. So it's a tiny bit mushier than my VivoBook, which is beside me, but it has the exact same feel. It could be because it's, I don't know, just the keycaps themselves feel a little bit different, but it's certainly not mushy. I suspect that they tweaked this a tiny bit because people will be gaming on it, and so they'll be just mashing keys quite a bit. To my eye, you can't see this, but the OLED looks better, it just does. This is 120 hertz OLED, this is 120 hertz IPS. This is a very good IPS though, and this is a good OLED, a fast OLED, pretty normal. The colors though are definitely brighter on the OLED, there's no question. This is a really bright, beautiful color spread here, but this is no slouch. I have issues when laptops don't have good color, so if I was using this, I would need really, really good color accuracy to do the work that I do, which is things with maps. So they both have really, really good color accuracy. The main difference I see, obviously the OLED has darker blacks. However, this is surprisingly good. Like this has great contrast. I am not angry at that whatsoever. Way better than my desktop's screens. One of the biggest differences that I noticed right off the bat, this is a glossy screen, this is a matte screen. Glossy screens, the colors pop more. They just do, it's just the way they are. That's one of the advantages of a glossy screen. So it looks more vibrant to my eyes. However, the matte, it's also very reflective though. If I'm sitting in a sunny room, I can see my face on this, which is annoying because I do work in light areas. So the glossy screen adds more color, but it does add reflections. Matte screen, you don't get reflections off of it, but you do get slightly muted colors. Pretty much what I'm seeing. Pretty close. This is a little bit more red on the iPhone, but whatever, it's close enough. So the colors are great. Color accuracy is wonderful on both of these. Basically what you're losing if you went from an OLED to an IPS is the blacks. You just don't get that like infinite contrast where the black is just absolutely black. Okay, I'm going to turn it right up. It's the VivoBook. So it's okay. You know, it's a bigger chassis, so it has decent sound. A little bit of bass there, I guess, but nothing impressive, I would say. And then we're going to flip over to the G14. The bass is substantially higher. There's actually bass on this laptop. So this is a 4-speaker setup with actual bass. And it's on half. Let's turn it up. It's going to get loud, I'm assuming. Okay, so here we are on the G14. It's quite loud. I'm going to turn it down. It's really, really loud. No distortion when it's loud though. Okay. This is cranked. Can't go any louder. So I'm taking the L there on the ASUS VivoBook. I mean, the sound is fine, but it's nothing special. This G14 is way better. I mean, it's a much more expensive laptop, but this is actually a really good, that's good enough for that. You did your best. This is a really, really good setup, the G14, in terms of screen quality and audio. It's going to be a winner. You know, it's just going to be a really, really nice media consumption device. No question there. So the bottom came off relatively easily once you took out those bottom screws. So it has dust filters, it looks like. I would prefer that there was less like, I don't know, blockage there. Like, I don't know why they can't just add more ventage there, especially with these dust covers. You could, you know, increase this density here by like 3 times of these little hash marks, and there'd be more air coming in, which is kind of annoying. So what is that? So as a result, you're going to have a lot more air being restricted. I don't know why they did this with my old G15 way back in the day. They put plastic on it. This will still get airflow. I mean, it's not bad, but I mean, more would be better. The inside is a vapor chamber. Again, you can watch other people's videos. They'll talk about this, but it's a vapor chamber, dual fan setup with nice dense fans. The vapor chamber seems to, from what I've seen, keep this thing relatively cool. This is a hot device. It's not going to be cold. It's not going to be, you're not going to be like running this with high level gaming at 60 degrees. It looks like it's, you know, 80 or 90, but the chips are meant to be like that. So if you want to get max performance, it's going to be toasty. It's liquid metal under there, so don't take these off unless you're crazy or you're, I don't know, want to redo it. The battery's here. I believe it's 76 watt hours, so it's fine. It's pretty much taking up as much as it can. Surprising good sound coming out of those speakers there. Let's be honest. They sounded really good. And then there is upgrade path. So this is a 16 gigabyte model, meaning it has 8 gigabytes of RAM soldered, 8 gigabytes not. So you could put a 16 in here, and then you'd have 24. And it all will run in quad channel up to 18, up to 16, and then the additional run in dual channel. So even the extra RAM is going to run dual channel, which is nice. So you get pretty good performance out of this, even if you upgrade it. Because the 32 gigabytes of these, from what I've seen online, are incredibly expensive. So I get why people would just go with 24 and try to save themselves hundreds of Canadian dollars, if not thousands. And then I guess the NVMe's under there. It's a 1 terabyte Gen 4. Apparently it's moderately fast, but nothing special. Overall, the internals look pretty good though. You know, it's pretty dense. There's a lot in here in terms of the machine. No additional upgradability. You can basically swap out the card there, and then you can, you know, put in your RAM if you want to upgrade that too. Okay, so here we are. I decided to look up the SSD this way. So it's a Micron 2450, whatever that is. I know Micron, but I've never heard of that specific model. PCIe Gen 4. So in theory, it should be relatively quick, but I've seen online that it's slow for a PCIe Gen 4. So let's just test it real quick and see. I mean, realistically, it probably won't matter in real world scenarios, you know, but if you were, oh, there you go. So 3,500. Yeah, so that's pretty slow for PCIe E Gen 4 drive. You know, they can go up to like 5 gigabytes per second is pretty baseline, I would say. Good ones are, you know, 6 or 7 gigabytes per second. It's not really going to matter, but this is like borderline not being a PCIe Gen 4 drive. It's pretty much like a upper end Gen 3 drive, like a 970 Evo Plus or something, like, or Pro, whatever it is, or something like that. All right, so here we are in the game, 1600p resolution, so the max of the screen, everything ultra, and we're sitting at 82. And this song is that like Planets opera or orchestra. It was like Mars or something like that, which was a big inspiration for Star Wars, for those who didn't know. So very good frame rates here. Again, 1600p max resolution and ultra presets. Let's check the temps real quick. Okay, so here's the temps here. Looks like we're getting warm, a little bit warm on the CPU, 92, but then we drop back down. GPU is not getting that hot, 85. I mean, it's warm, but it's within spec. That's not true. Oh, there it is. We're on performance mode, so we could set it up to turbo. Let's just see what that does. That's more, maybe a little bit extra frames, but the fans are pretty loud. So, 96 there or so. Let's go down. Yeah, so averaging a couple frames, about 5, so 5 frames less, but the fans are much quieter here in performance than it was in turbo. Turbo was really noisy. You definitely get more frames in turbo. Let's go into this denser area. So 78, 75 there in performance, driving this way. Let's go back to turbo again, which is basically max. I haven't tweaked anything, like done any max turbo boost on the CPU or anything like that. And we're getting 90. So it does make a difference, turbo. Fans are pretty noisy, so if that annoys you, you could just go with performance. 1440p or 1600p down to 1200p, which is 1080p. And our frames are way up, so we're up to 120. This game auto V-syncs, so we could be getting over 120, but Forza, it sets your max to whatever your refresh rate is. So, I mean, this is pretty evident, very capable. If you're going at 1080p or whatever your resolution is, 1080p you're going to get max 120 hertz. You're going to get more. Technically, I guess you could get more. 85, 86 or so on the GPU, which is totally fine. CPU, yeah, we're getting pretty hot on the CPU. 95, 96, 89. Okay, so Cyberpunk Ultra, no ray tracing. Above 30, 36. It's not really dropping down, it's just kind of sitting around 35, 36. It's our ultra quality on. Let me quickly check these. We can go a little bit higher. We can go with balanced, which will be quite a more potent FSR. Might get a little blurry, but that still looks fine. It's a little bit softer, but it looks fine still. Like you can see, these bows still look okay up here. We're getting quite a big jump in frames here, 80 plus. So just ultra quality FSR turned on, 1080p, 1600p or 1440p depending on your screen, and there you go, you're getting basically 60 FPS. No ray tracing. Let's see how it performs. I wouldn't play like this. I would just play it at ultra, but yeah, you can do this and just get native resolution, and you're getting close to 60. 53, 1440p, 1600p, and 55-ish frames per second. So if you really want to play natively at 1440p or whatever, just put it to medium. This looks fine, but why not go with high presets and just turn on a little FSR? Just go ray tracing low. It's gonna need FSR, but let's try it without. Yeah, so low ray tracing without FSR is like, it's terrible. It's kind of nauseating actually. We'll turn on, still high presets though, we'll just turn FSR just a little bit here. Ultra quality, so now we have a little bit of FSR. Textures are still high and we have a low ray tracing on. Yeah, and there we go. Now we're back up to 50 or so. So if you really like ray tracing, I mean, you can play it with ray tracing. I don't personally like it, I don't really care. But let's go ray tracing medium. We'll turn this back on because it's going to need it. This is ray tracing medium here. Yeah, we're below 30. Let's just quickly turn this back down to performance. Okay, so here we are in Valheim. Everything is, I believe, so everything's cranked, 1600p full screen. Everything maxed except motion blur off because it's crashed. Yeah, let's see how it performs. This may not seem like a very challenging game to run, but this is an incredibly challenging game to run. My desktop with the 3090, it runs better, obviously, on a 3090, but it's not like, it's still challenged. Probably double the performance, but still. Looks like with max settings, 1440, 600p, 60 FPS, a little bit below 60 FPS. This is a pretty challenging area here. Yeah, you drop down when you're near fire. 49, 50s. And we're getting, well over 60 now. This is probably how I would play. There's no need to, crank this game, because this game is very prone to dips. If you get into heavy fights, it'll dip down a lot. You'll lose half your frames in a couple seconds. So here, 1200p, we're getting well over 60, meaning when we dip, we'll probably still be at 50 or 60 or so. I would like to see this a little bit cooler, but it looks like AMD has spec'd the machine to just get hot, which is fine. I mean, if the machine's meant to get hot, then it's meant to get hot. This game is really demanding. You can see it's hitting temperatures above any other games I've tested, but it's not well optimized, I'll put it that way. Yeah, it looks like we're getting really good frames. So this is 1600p. So if you had a 1440p monitor, it'd be basically the same. Basically max. It's ultra without the hairworks thing. Well over 60. So I mean, you don't need to lower the settings, there's no point. I guess if you wanted to play this game at 120 FPS you could, but why would you do that? This is totally fine. Okay, so we will do a test here for people who have the full HD version of this laptop and have only that to work with. Let's put it back to Ultra. Oops. So we're going to put it back to Ultra. We're going to turn this hairwork crap off again. Good, and we will put it to the 1200p. So for people who have the full HD version of this laptop, this is for you. So there we go. This is what people who own the FHD, full HD version of this, WUXGA. If you're playing this game at 1200p, this is what you're going to get here. So I turned off VSync, so we could theoretically get over 120. I think it did for a second there. Thought I saw 130, but yeah, there we go, so 130. So you're getting 120 or so. Very, very, very playable, and that's on Ultra. So okay, so here we are at 4K, high presets, and sitting at about 80 FPS in the challenging area. Again, this game is very well optimized and runs really well on AMD hardware. NVIDIA too. So, not challenging area, 100 FPS, 90 FPS, challenging area, still above 60. So you can play this game at 4K high, no problem. Real nice. It's at 80. So we're at 53 in this challenging area here. And we're up to 60 out here. This game looks good on any resolution, but I mean, yeah, you could just throw this game in 4K Ultra and just play it. There's a couple dips below 60, but it's not like it's way below 60. It's totally playable. So 4K Ultra. Let's see where we're at here. I think that's a 48 or so. 49. Very playable frame rates. So there's high presets, and now we're closer to 60. I'd probably play here, 50, 55 or to 60-ish range is probably more playable than 48 to 50. And here's the score for the, okay, so here's the score. I did a Timespy test here. This is just the first one, but it looks like we're getting 9,000 or so, 9,800 on the CPU and about 9,000 or so on the GPU. I'm not sure if that's good or bad compared to other ones. It looks like it's pretty standard, which I guess is fine. I'm not expecting it to do better than the average, but yeah, it seems to be pretty good. All right, so what's my takeaway with this laptop from limited use? I mean, I'm not using this for a long period of time, but it seems to be pretty good. Some of the driver issues and BIOS issues that a lot of things you've read online with this laptop were because it was an early release, and it's a brand new chip for AMD, the 6800 and the 6700S. So those seem to be gone. I mean, all these games ran well that I played. There's other games I could play, but I played a fair number of fairly challenging games, and they all ran perfectly fine. Absolutely no issues there, no weird wonkiness, and pretty good frame rates that would be probably on par with my 3070 or 3070 Ti type machines. It's 3080 in some cases, I guess it depends. But it runs really well for gaming, obviously. Now, it is quite hot. It is a hot machine. We're getting temperatures up here, 90 degrees on the GPU at some point when it was maxed out. CPU, it typically says about 80, the GPU. CPU, we got up to like 96 or so pretty hot. At idle, though, it's a pretty cool machine. 45 to 50, and I haven't done anything to improve those temperatures, but that's pretty normal. I'd say probably 45, 50, which is fine for a machine with this kind of specs. But it does get hot when gaming, like absolutely. Compared that to like a Legion or something, or a G15 that's just a bigger chassis, they're going to be cooler. So overall, great laptop. I think most of the problems that people had with this laptop were kind of early growing pains of it. They're going to come out with a 2023 model in Canada and the US, specifically in Canada. That's not going to be for, 8 months, probably midsummer when we actually get these things. So, the prices these are going on for really good sales, I think it's actually worth it if you need something of this, slim design. If you don't mind size, don't get this. Go with a G15 or a Legion or something that's going to be bigger and cooler and have more performance. But if you need something that's portable but also has power, this is a great machine. Like I said, most of those issues that I've read online seem to be ironed out. It runs really well. I have no problems with it whatsoever.